Dibty is definitely here with the papers. She's starting with US Democrats launching this formal impeachment inquiry, of course, against Donald Trump.
That's right. Democrats want to know mainly if Donald Trump abused his presidential powers. This over allegations that he, I guess you could say, tried to extort Ukraine's leader to gather dirt on a possible presidential rival, Joe Biden. Will Trump, the, quote, Teflon-encased president, survived this latest challenge? That's what Politico is wondering. Speaking of dirt, cartoonist Nate Beeler sees Donald Trump as the biter being bit or the sprayer being sprayed. In this cartoon here, you see while he's looking for dirt on his rival, he is elbow deep in his own dirt. I quite like the cartoon from Mike Thompson as well. The impeachment train is going full steam ahead, you could say. Donald Trump and his little golf cart risk being run over there by that impeachment train.
Yeah, it could be a collision there very, very quickly, couldn't there? I mean, it's dominating the opinion pages as well, isn't it, Dipty?
It is, and the moment that has been much talked about now, we've been hearing this for 4 years nearly now, or at least 3 years. Could Trump be the target of an impeachment inquiry? Well, the trigger has been pulled, the Rubicon crossed, the die cast, the New York Times says, but now the moment has arrived. Now that this moment has arrived, lawmakers of both parties must proceed with care because rarely have the stakes been so high, both for the Republicans and Democrats, just over a year from elections there. The conservative magazine National Review conceding that what Donald Trump did was wrong. I quote, American political campaigns should be American affairs, but if the Democrats want to go down this impeachment road, they should be prepared for digging into their own past, from, for instance, Obama's dealings with Kiev in 2016 to the alleged Trump-Russia collusion, which, at least the magazine says, I quote, appears to have been encouraged by the Obama administration.
Let's head to Indonesia for this next story now. Thousands of students taking to the streets yesterday in opposition to a criminal code bill.
That's right. This it's pretty frightening, this legislation. The controversial bill would outlaw extramarital sex, adultery, unmarried couples living together, and make insulting the president a penal crime. Protesters have been calling for the past 2 days for the government to also repeal a law passed last week that they fear could weaken the country's anti-corruption body. This in a country where corruption is rife. Facing the unrest, the government has postponed this criminal code bill for the moment. Students lead the way again in what the Jakarta Post is calling the biggest student movement in 21 years. And those protests did turn violent, with police firing tear gas, protesters throwing stones, and some alleging, as this Indonesian local paper says, that some students were beaten up by police.
And Indonesia also experiencing devastating forest fires at the moment, Dipty. They've literally turned the skies bright orange.
That's right. And those images we've been seeing for the past couple of days, some saying it looked like Mars, but it was actually Indonesia. Schools closed, airports shut down, tens of thousands of personnel deployed to fight these fires, many of which were deliberately set to clear agricultural land. This is an annual problem for Indonesia, these forest fires and the smog that comes out of it. But this year has been exacerbated by years of drought and dry weather. Now the UN is warning that 10 million Indonesian children are at risk of air pollution due to the vast amounts of toxic gases being pumped into the air right now.
Now, finally, from Dipty, we're going to talk about KFC. She's found a rather bizarre article. It looks at how the fast food chain icon Colonel Sanders has become, am I misreading this? Has become a sex symbol.
I had to reread this article twice
kind
as well.
Of beard.
Yeah,
I can
they've turned him.
picture him.
Well, you'll see. They've turned him hipster in recent times.
Oh, okay,
but,
right.
Apparently, he's. You actually have to read the article.
Colonel Sanders.
You have to read the article
Right.
if you don't believe me. But apparently, Colonel Sanders has been the object of unrequited sexual desire for several years.
Right.
2 years ago, a romance novella featured Sanders on the front cover, carrying a suburban mom in his arms against an ocean backdrop and a bucket of fried chicken. Rob Lowe, Ray Liotta, Reba McEntire are just some who have incarnated, embodied Colonel Sanders for the company. A few years back, though, they ditched the whole actor thing and went for a CGI-created, tattooed hipster version of Colonel Sanders. And yesterday, very bizarrely, the company released a dating game in which the goal is to try and graduate from culinary school, all the while trying to seduce Colonel Sanders. I think it's called I Love You, Colonel Sanders, or something like that.
Come on, you've been playing it all morning, Dipsy. Let's be honest.
Oh, you got me there. It's so weird that it's intriguing, Stuart, and I'm sure a lot of us are going to be checking out. It's a dating sim game. I haven't quite understood the concept, but yeah.
Okay.
He's a sex symbol you never knew you needed.
Yeah, exactly. Ronald McDonald would be turning in his grave if he knew about that, wouldn't he? I mean, it's not fair. How come Colonel Sanders gets it and I don't? Anyway.
Must be the mustache.
Must be. That's what it is. Tika Laurent, we all now know she likes moustaches. On France 24. After the break, in the next half hour of the programme, we're going to be reporting from the south of India, where this year's monsoon led to 140 deaths and more than 250,000 forced to flee. Many, though, blaming not only the extreme rainfall, but also the uncontrolled extraction of granite, causing landslides from the mountain, and sand from the rivers, causing floods. That's our focus report in 15 minutes.